But they did say there are 4 games that are going to be on PlayStation. That I was telling you guys earlier, the crowd favorites for what those 4 games are Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, Grounded, and Hi-Fi Rush. Those are like that's what everybody's saying the 4 games are. What I think, it is not going to be those 4. There's a couple of them that, yes, I definitely think Sea of Thieves is one of them. And I definitely think Hi-Fi Rush is one of them. And the reason I say this is because we had some context. 2 of these 4 games that we are going to be releasing on PlayStation, Nintendo, 2 of these games are community-driven. We feel that they have potential to keep growing, but they've kind of halted and kind of reached this plateau on Xbox. So we want that player base to keep growing so we can keep expanding that game. And that is why we're reaching out to these other platforms. So 2 of these games they didn't say live service. They said community-driven, and this will help us to keep investing in those games because their player base is growing. The other 2 games are a bit more low-key. We didn't identify them as like flagship titles that necessarily like will trigger the console wars or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I have an opinion here. Okay? I have more math for you, if you will. But it's not like direct math, if you will. I think it's more probability. I don't think it's both Pentiment and Grounded. And thank you, Dennis. I see Dennis saying like it's going to be at least 1 year old, they said, which I'm really appreciative that they said that. That's really good. And also shout out Not Enough Coffee. Perfect timing. Not Enough Coffee. Oh, right there. Thank you so much for being MVP of the stream, man. I'm going to answer that question in a moment. But I don't think any studio has 2 games, more than 1 game on this list, because this method is literally to draw in not just new fans to the Xbox brand, which is another cool way that they said that, but I think it's also a way to fund these developers a bit more, to get them more of an income and to keep growing what they can do. And giving any developer more than 1 title to do that might go against that idea of kind of spreading it across multiple developers, right? So Pentiment and Grounded are 2 games from Obsidian Entertainment. Yeah, they're 2 very different games, but I think that that might be a part of the thinking instead of making one studio benefit from it a lot. It doesn't matter the scale of the studio. It doesn't have to be a super small. Well, you're saying a super small team? No. I'm just saying like from a studio. And we want to help funding that studio by getting one of their games. As they said, a developer wants their game on as many platforms as possible, or to more specifically, as many players as possible. So I think Obsidian only gets 1 of those games, either Grounded or Pentiment. I personally think Pentiment is more realistic. And it also makes sense, too, because it is, as he said, it is a more low-key game. It is a more, it's not a flagship of Xbox kind of a thing. So I think Pentiment makes sense. It's over a year old. It's almost 2 years old now. Well, not quite, but it's over a year old. I think Hi-Fi Rush makes sense for Tangoed Gameworks as the other game, where it's not super AAA or whatever. It's not the flagship. Those are the 2 games that he meant for that category. The other category is where we get to some controversial shit. One of them is definitely Sea of Thieves. It was in the talks. It is over 6 years later. And key thing, it's a game that runs on Xbox One. So this game actually could run on PlayStation 4. That would blow the player base like crazy. So not only on PS5, but potentially also on PS4. Maybe they want to make it easier for the developers and be like, you just do PS5. That's fine. But yeah, Sea of Thieves, I definitely think is one of them, and that would be for Rare. Freaking finish Everwild, please. This will help them finish that. And they also had this fun tweet that was like, roses are red, violets are blue. And people were like, is this an analogy for the console situation? The other community-driven game. I can't believe I'm saying it. It's not Master Chief Collection, man. It was released over a year ago. And the game's finally complete. They might make the Halo multiplayer. The free-to-play Halo Infinite multiplayer. Oh my god. Is this the part that you expect me to say, just kidding? I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Hear me out, okay? Now wait, before you raise your pitchforks, wait. Hear me out. So, and I say this as the person. Halo is my favorite game franchise of all time. I freaking love this bitch. And it is the face of Xbox. And it would be weird for it to be on another system. I said that earlier. It would be weird to play God of War or Mario on another system. But they had plans for Infinite, and I just did a video about this too. Go watch that. And in that video, I say that Infinite has the potential to become the next Roblox now that it's finally done. And it's kind of reached all the players that it can on Steam and Xbox. And the only way to get them back is for a significant event to happen to significantly raise not just the player base, but the word of mouth. And the only way to do that is, what's this? A free-to-play game that's going to come to a system that has over not just the 50 million players, but again, just like Sea of Thieves, another thing it has in common with that is it runs on Xbox One. Just like Sea of Thieves, it runs on Xbox One. So not only do you reach the PS5 players, you reach the over 100 million PS4 players, if they still are there, you know? And it's a free-to-play game that is basically a Roblox-like Halo game, a Fortnite-like Halo game that you could just create whatever the hell you want, and it is entirely, keywords that Phil said, community-driven. That's scary, man. That's scary. Like, it makes total sense to me. It could be grounded. It absolutely could be grounded. Grounded would be like the next runner-up, but I think personally it makes way more sense for it to be Infinite on, strictly speaking, how do you reach the most players? How do you put back into one of your studios that doesn't have one of these releases? How do you do this for a game that you had this intention for in the first place? But they don't put the campaign on there. They don't put the campaign on there. They just put the multiplayer. At least do that. That's all I'm saying. At least do that.